maybe it has come to be established medically also that perhaps we could have some recurrences in future, not exactly as a way forward from the current COVID, but there are likely to be such disruptions in the future because the virus is here to stay, as they say, and so therefore there is a possibility that we can see perhaps a few lockdowns like this going forward and so on. So this seems to be how we will be progressing in the times to come. So given that kind of a overarching the situation, and also because it perhaps fits in with the values and the vision of Change Agents Foundation, we thought perhaps that this is the right time to focus on health, safety and well-being, because I think even in the IMF webinar that was held 2 days ago, I think this was one topic which was under focus, saying that for individuals, whether in the formal sector of employment or otherwise, health and safety have become number one on their agenda from maybe the third or the fourth place that it used to occupy earlier and so on. So both from an economic point of view as well as from a corporate point of view, there is going to be some spending which is going to be on these lines. So healthcare and such industries are certainly looking up and things like that. But I think what is really coming out of all this is also the need for us to kind of continuously connect with our workforce, connect with our employees and so on and so forth. And because the other thing that they are talking about is also that the trust deficit, there could be something called as a trust deficit among stakeholders. And I think as an HR community, our stakeholders are the employees and the management and the ownership of the organization and so on. So I think there is also this extra effort that we need to make in terms of bridging this so-called trust deficit that could also be a kind of challenge that will pose in addition to whatever are the challenges that are being posed to us. Then of course there are other related issues, like for example, I think I also spoke about it in an article, in a two-part article that I published in the Madras Management Association Journal many weeks ago, talking about managing good costs and bad costs. So today, bad costs, meaning that, fancy office or whether it's unnecessary spending or even bad performers and things like that, and of course outdated means of productivity and things like that can also be looked upon very ruthlessly, because I think organizations are really looking at costs in order to keep their heads up in the given circumstances and so on. And of course, for large organized sector, for the large companies, I think today there is certainly a great emphasis on employee well-being. And so today, though we might, I think all the speakers, including me, would have all learnt in our social work curriculum that, mental health and mental well-being are equally important, but they were never the focus in the last several decades. But I think thanks to COVID and things like that, I think the focus has come back on mental well-being in addition to physical safety, physical health and physical well-being and so on and so forth. So the kind of questions that I would like to kind of let's say pose to my panel members, and I would of course leave it to them to kind of paraphrase it in any which way they would like in terms of what has been their experience in the current organizations and so on. So just for the benefit of the viewers, we have also brought in, as you can see, speakers from various industry verticals. For example, Suma comes from the seeds and the fertilizer and the chemicals, agrochemicals, that kind of agriculture industry focus and things like that. Of course, Rajni comes from the brick and mortar, typical construction, design, execution and that kind of hardcore brick and mortar kind of a vertical. And of course, Natwar comes from the automobile sector, which is they say is a real indicator of the state of the economy and things like that. So we are all told through various channels that automobile sales are looking up, not only as a result of the festive season, but also as a pent up demand and things like that. So I'm sure there is a lot happening in all these industries. And of course, the bellwether of all verticals, which is the IT sector, which has perhaps been the savior for countries like India and across the globe, for us to be able to embrace technology on an accelerated manner. Because if it were not for COVID, I don't think we would all be, kind of so technology savvy and things like that. So we have had to per force embrace and accept technology. So to represent that sector, we have, of course, Bala from Bhawan Cybertech and so on. So all the let's say the critical verticals are kind of covered in among the speakers, and that's the good news. So the questions being posed to these speakers are as follows. One, that what has COVID, we have to necessarily take into account the COVID, because we can't really brush it away, can we? So what has COVID really done to your HR approach and perspectives in the organization? Otherwise it would be like, business as usual, right? Let's say from February of 2020 or whatever, right? But thanks to COVID and thanks to the pandemic, what has been the tectonic shift that has taken place in not only your thinking as an HR professional, but also in terms of the organization? Because willy-nilly the organization and the business have had to accept to invent or come up with new ways of looking at business models and things like that. So you can see that, I don't have to explain this, but almost all sectors other than manufacturing and services have all undergone a major dip. Take it the restaurant, take it the, all the aviation sector or whatever it is. So they have all had to now reinvent themselves and reinvent their models. So given the fact that we have to relook at our business model, what has been the tectonic shift in HR, in the way in which we look at human resource policies, human resource initiatives and so on. So that's the first and the most important, let's say, question that I can provoke you with. The second, of course, is that thanks to work from home and things like that, even before this webinar, on the sidelines, all the speakers and all of us were talking about work from home. So the thin line between work and life balance, work-life balance that we all used to talk eloquently on all kind of stages and forums, today is a reality. And the thin line differentiating work from life or work from family has completely or almost disappeared. So where is this line now to be redrawn? And is work from home a way of life? Of course, TCS and all the big bellwethers of IT industry have announced that 98% of their staff will work from home and that kind of a thing. Even banks, Kotak Mahindra Bank, a colleague of mine is saying that I don't think I'm going to go back to office at all. In a Kotak Mahindra kind of a bank, he's saying that. So let's say work from home is here to stay, but I'm sure Rajni or even Suma or for that matter Natwar will never agree with me. And so what is this equation between work from home and the compulsion to actually come to office and work? So how are you really kind of balancing this out? So now it's not a balance between work and life or work and family, but it's a balance between work from home and work from factory or work from office kind of a thing. So where are you drawing this balance? And the last question, of course, is that some of these practices, you will say, I'm sure that you have brought in some new practices, new shifts. Now, are these shifts and new practices and new perspectives and new orientation to HR, are these going to be permanent? Are they here to stay, or will we actually spring back once normalcy returns in the true sense of the term? Which I fear not. I don't think, one, normalcy is going to come back. Two, I don't think some of the practices that you have invented for yourselves, reinvented for yourselves out of the box and all of that, I don't think will, I'm sure they're all here to stay. There is no question of, going back to square one and things like that, because I think it has given a complete change of perspective to HR and to the business as well, because the way in which business is looking at HR has also completely altered. So, what are these shifts that have taken place? So, let me now call upon Suma to kind of initially give out her perspectives on some of these points that I have raised, but make it short and sweet so that on the same points, let's hear all the four of you for one round, and then
Yeah.
we will make it perhaps a kind of a conversational or a kind of a group discussion kind of thing. So over to you, Suma, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, JD. So, first things first. So, I belong to a segment which is in the essential services. So, for us, the COVID impact had a different meaning. Work had to go, as usual. The plans had to run. The only thing which, when the teams which actually worked remotely were the support teams, and rest all operations, the sales team, they all had to be there on the field. So it was quite interesting for us as the leadership team at Cargill Animal Nutrition and Health specific business,
Right.
to actually how do we connect with the teams, how do we ensure that they are safe. And every day the number of cases were rising, and there were these murmurs within the teams. Is it going to really, are we will we be able to survive? So survive in the sense the sales targets, and do we need to relook at everything, whatever we had planned for. But interestingly, the way Cargill as a company, I know I will be talking a little bit more about my organization, and but because I can't stop talking about the good things that Cargill as a company has done. So uh, globally, things came down to us within the country, and we had this team set up. This is more of crisis management team, and this is, I'm talking about a country level team, and then of course a specific business level. Cargill is also into food, and there is agri, there is animal, animal nutrition. There are multiple segments, so each of these segments also had their own leadership team. When I call out as a leadership team, it's not necessarily everybody who's there as part of that leadership hierarchy. So the benefit of coming up with the right set of people who are part of that team was to have the right discussion. If an HR person is not required to be there in a discussion, then it was fair that they are excluded. But then that's how things progressed. Initially, it was the entire set of team. They would meet regularly on daily basis, check for what's the status across the country, whether things are getting impacted. And then slowly and steadily things progressed, wherein certain teams were, they started taking a back step because things were working perfectly fine. The processes were set. When I talk about processes, especially from an HR angle, right? So there were those support mechanisms which we built in into the system so that people are taken care of. For example, setting up remote office for people who had to work remotely. Now, when I talk about remote, I also want to touch upon specifically our sales team. Sales team, they have to be there on the ground, right? And for us as a business, it was not necessary that all of them have a laptop or a system to operate,
Right.
especially an HR system. The basic minimum requirement for any employee, those were provided to them till that instant. I'm talking about somebody who has just joined the organization as a sales officer, probably just out of college, wherein there is also that risk of what is the steadiness in terms of how long will that person be, and do we really want to invest in a laptop or a desktop for them, because they have to work remotely, right? So they have to visit the customers, they have to visit the farms. In that kind of scenario, what is the support which we as a company can provide? And that's where we had to look at our own HR systems and processes, which can, the basic, the communication which we wanted to drive, we wanted them to receive those updates. So this was one thing which we, immediately did, rather than, trying to provide them all a kind of, desktop or, those kind of services. But it was more of providing them the basic things which which can actually make them, kickstart, even though they were still there on the field, but we started slowly providing those. So setting up remote office for people, um, I'm talking about now support staff, in the office, somebody who is a kind of an admin support, or somebody who's a purchase support. Now, in these cases, they need to scan certain documents. They are so connected with the actual office, that
Right.
even though we declared that now you need to start to work from home, people started coming up with unique issues. It's as simple as, the space in at the home is too small that
Right.
we can't focus on our work. So trying to manage all those challenges, because this, how did we come to hear the voice of our people? It was through this everyday meetings, and that's where we helped them set up their remote office, trying to provide them multiple solutions. Um, Along with that, trying to ensure that people are staying healthy. So there were these kind of resources which were provided, psychological well-being. How can they connect with the employees even though they are not meeting them in person? How can they still connect?
Right.
Some salespeople could actually meet a customer, and the next day they may come to know that, okay, that customer got COVID. So there is that fear, right? So fear for themselves, fear for their families. So how do we take care of their psychological well-being? How do we provide support? And then also, staying connected. We had this multiple yama groups being created, wherein we used to monitor, and we used to ensure that people are still there, networking, WhatsApp groups, and multiple such sources which individual leaders or the functional leaders were responsible to take care. So these were some initial tidbits wherein we tried to change the way an HR could support in a situation which was completely unknown to an HR function. So I think I'll just stop here, because this is just the beginning. Let's hear
Sure.
from others.
Sure, Suma. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. Can we now move over to Natwar? I'll come to Bala at the end because IT is a special vertical. So Bala, stand by. But
Yeah,
incidentally, just to be on the record, for the record's sake, I think Bala has not been well. We all should appreciate that the fact that he has kept up to his commitment and he said, no, I will attend in spite of my ill health. So thank you, Bala, for that. So over to Natwar. Can we hear you, Natwar?
hi. Uh,
Yeah.
well, we are almost at the edge of 2020. Never thought this year would go at this speed.
Yeah.
Never thought that 2020 will bring so much of surprises. I'm sure nobody was prepared about this COVID. We were prepared about uncertainty, but uncertainty coming to this intensity, I'm sure none of us would have studied in our schools, college of this degree. Well, I come from an automobile business. I'm sure my learnings are not so different from any of the organization with any sector. To
Right.
a larger extent, our learnings are more or less the same. Maybe the kind of problem which we would have faced it would be slightly different. Uh, Automobile industry per se has 2019 was a big setback. So already we were on the because of the business model change, and 2019 terms to be the lowest performing unit for auto industry in the entire decade. So
Right.
we were already in the setback, and here comes another setback of 2020 coming out, where you're not supposed to do anything, closures your plant. Manufacturing is a plant which yes, what work from home is a kind of dream. It's always looked as a pleasure, and so as it's not vividly even been accepted in manufacturing companies like us. But however, having said the business scenario, COVID in presence, all I would say about the COVID, what has brought us to teach us the only thing, three things, which is the learn, unlearn, and relearn. This was continuous cycle which was going through. I would not get into detail of each process because that would be redundant now, as we have already moved ahead. But one thing was very clear: it was not just the plan B. It was not just the plan B, it was about plan C, plan D, and plan E and F. So we don't know which one is falling and which one has to be taken forward. So that's something which very important as a vital learning in that. But as a business, as a professional, what was more important is that not just ensuring your business continuity, but what's more important is managing the people's emotions, especially when you have a blue collar workforce. uh, you will have to break the element of conscious fear in their mind and bring back to the work, because cars cannot be produced sitting back at work at home. You need to be on the ground and you need to produce the car. And you never know when there is a sunshine, so you be ready to deliver your cars. So having this in the places was a very difficult challenge to bring the workforce. And I'm sure you would also agree that cars cannot be produced with minimal workforce. So you require good number of workforce to be in place. So restructuring the entire plant to meet the norms. However, at the same time, you'll always face the challenge of work, blue collar talking about you that you want this to be at work, but you want a work life, work from home for the people who are in white collar. So there is always an imbalance between that. We as a professional have to balance. Very clear. You be at work, be it home or be at a floor. All matters is the productivity at this point. And well, yes, I think we have embraced to a lot of larger extent of digital tools, which I think one of the biggest learning is that the work from home, which has never been accepted as a tool, it's always looked as a pleasure, but to an extent, about 70% of our workforce has been doing a work from home. So when I'm talking about the jobs which can be doing work from home, and we've actually achieved almost close to about 90-95% of productivity as well. So that shows that things are possible. This was just the mind conditioning. The wall has to break and we have to move forward.
Right.
Another perspective is that the key element, what is more important, was communicate. I think the constant communications, that was a key of things to do, take it forward from there.
Right.
Another perspective is that that emotion is something which cannot be taken at, you cannot be rational at this point. Emotion is something which need to be managed. So if you don't have anything else to do, just lend your ears to employees. I think they have a lot to share. Just listen it. I think that's the job. Maximum of your job is done. Yes, we also embrace the engagement. We give a new dimension to the engagement. You be at home, you be at work. Engagement was very important. Looking at a holistic of the wellness of an employee at this point. And I think today we are back to the business. As you said in your intro that automotive cars are back on the track. There is a huge demand. We see personal mobility as taking a lead again. I'm sure people are looking to buy a car more. Good that we have not taken any penny-wise, pound-foolish decisions way back, which could have impacted us when the time to come. But what I see that companies who were already in the technology in terms of business is concerned, but never paid importance to technology from the people side, I think that's seen a paradigm change, and so as our organization as well. There'll be a huge technological changes in terms of practices. All I see that going forward, our businesses, our process will be more agile and flexible. I think that's where I probably call it off when I'm ready for listen to more conversation.
Sure, Natwar, thank you. I think that one point which you made, I think I liked, because what you said was that those companies which are technologically savvy are now getting connected on the people side, and companies which were a lot more kind of people connected are now swinging to the technology side. So I think there is a balancing that's happening out there, right? So thanks to COVID, I think all these are positive kind of developments. We will surely like to hear from you more specifically. I'll come up with questions once we are done with one round of interactions. Yeah. So can I call upon Rajani, please? Dr. Rajani, please.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So I want to start off by telling you a small bit of information about my organization. It is SK Design and Structures. So what we do is we build huge structures back in the US, United States. And for United States, infrastructure is an essential business. So there's no way that we can stop our functionalities and our work for any reason for that matter. And there was also a political scenario that was prevailing between July to October, November, until the elections were over. And every fabricator was looking at giving their best structures in the United States. So every time there was this fabricator coming up with new projects, it all landed on our laps, and then we need to do our best. So that is about.
Rajani, you muted yourself.
Yeah.
I think the host had muted me by mistake. Okay. So So that's what I wanted to start with. So even in the initial discussions we had last week, Jirisa, I was telling you that right from the word go, we had to sit back and we had to ship our desktops and get all the logistics work done, like what Suma was saying, and we were able to provide 100% all the tools and the technology necessary for people to work from their homes. So we could not waste even a single hour. So when they said the 22nd, they were talking about it. Tamil Nadu was talking about it, and 23rd, Mr. Our Modi had talked about the India shutdown. And the 24th, we had all our employees with the desktop. I would say that 78% of our employees were working from home from the 24th onwards. Okay, and the rest of the 25, because of the remote locations that they were coming from deep down south, all of them were, so they could not definitely connect. So after a couple of weeks, we could connect them back to the system. And so initially, if you ask me, it was just like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We had to give them all the basic needs.
Okay.
I was only thinking what a visionary Maslow could have been. He could even look at COVID way back a few decades, almost a century now, I think. So so all the basic needs were the only things that we are looking at. So when we talk about basic need, it's about the desktop, it's about the internet connectivity, it's about all the. So we thrive a lot on licensed software. And at no reason we can look at a pirated software. It's like a big no for us. So we had to ensure that all of them had the right license, and no one was downloading all kind of crap from the net, and a lot of internet security was put into place. And I had to work personally with the technology team and the rest of the teams with the team leaders to ensure that all these basic needs were in place for our people. So that took about a full month, I should say. I should submit here, it was like a good 30 days of work, giving them all the necessary basic requirements. And then we slowly moved into all these, health requirements of people, ensuring that they were healthy, and all of our people were working from home. And then you kind of asked me, like, what was the perspective on HR that got completely changed during this time. I wanted to tell you that, policies are not here to stay. Policies were changing left, right, and center. This morning, I make a HR policy, and I can see it going down the drain the same evening. Or next day morning, my boss would come and say, Rajni, I think we need to relook at the policy because there are certain things that are changing. And I have to tell you here that, we were very lucky as a company because we did the biggest, the heaviest projects in this last 8 months. So we got a 20, for certain reasons, I can't tell you who are the customers. But anyway, we did a 20,000 tons project. We did an 18,000 ton project and a 22,000 tons project. So for that, we need the people, the right people on the right job, and we could convert all these teams into project-based teams. And so it was a big learning for me personally because I've never worked on a project, project-based teams. I've worked on a particular structure that we put in place, and then you have a leader, then 10 guys report to him, and that was like very organized way of looking at teams. But then as I told you, teams were not there to stay. It was more on competency-based teaming of people, and based on the projects that we're doing. So we were building bridges, we were building huge warehouses for very, very big customers in the US, and we were building stadiums. We were building a soccer stadium. And, these were kind of the projects which needed a lot of precision, error-free, perfect quality jobs. And you know how demanding American customers can be. So that was a kind of expectation from us. So it was more of a competency-based project teams, which were driven by. So people were also feeling that a sense of they lacked a sense of belongingness, I mean, I want to line up the whole thing along the Maslow's hierarchy because they definitely, being a psychologist, I know I slip into that factor. So people felt, ma'am, I was reporting to Ram. Now you're asking me reporting to Sham, and it's not at all possible. I said, no, yeah, if you don't report, you lose a job. You make a decision. I had to make it very sweet coatedly. I had to tell him that, this is the way of life. And the number of policies I made, I really don't know how many versions I have, sir, on my desktop, on my laptop. And so these were the things, it was very unsettled. And at that time, I decided to do a HR one-on-one. And I covered about 200 people in a span of 30 days, speaking to them. My mouth would really ache and my ears would really ache. But then I had to do it. And then the one common factor that came was job is getting very difficult because coordination issues are there, and then which lands up in a quality issue. Correct. Because productivity suffers, quality suffers. So these were the stories that we were listening to, sir. So it was not an easy job, but somehow we managed to pull it off, I would say, with some amount of precision. And during the course of the panel discussion, I'll throw more light into solve some of our problems.
Thank you, Rajni. So she was talking more about a very intense involvement in terms of day-to-day connect with the employees and things like that. Okay, can we now go on to Balakumar? Bala?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Sharma, for calling me out for this session and the eminent leaders here. And it means my learning also from the other sectors, how it is operating and things like that. Money, it'll be nice, I made a small, because being an IT professional, normally I make a small deck. Sure. I'll take a couple of minutes because the points that you covered are really in need of ours. What you rightly told is about the trust deficit, which is important. I would like Money to flash.
Give me a second, sir. I'm getting it. Yeah.
Sure.
So trust deficit is one of the thing, and productivity issue is one thing you pointed out, and how we are going to embrace the technology. Okay.
Right.
Having come to that, it's an interesting journey. It's a new normal, never before in our life. I don't know whether the future is going to have similar situation. And good that we all had an opportunity to sail through this situation and bring up everybody. So how positively we have to look at it and embrace the team is more important. The first thing that comes into us is how are we going to sustain? That is more important in the first state. And next is what is going to be, how are we going to be organization future ready?
Okay.
What we really looked at it on the COVID-19 situation.
Okay.
If we can you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, in a COVID situation, how an HR approach is predominantly how HR is going to be virtually connected, because the time the announcement has come in, safety of the associate is more important, paramount important. We are in the people business. We want to ensure everybody's health and wellness are being protected, as well as the organization mandate or business is not going to have any suffering. So how we looked at this is one is an HR immediately connected globally across all location. Virtually they got connected, and employee well-being programs are being run, and there are a lot of people gone into the stress mode. The initial pandemic period, the connect level was very high, as Rajini was saying. One-on-one connects were immensely higher compared to what we normally do it on facility, because it's a new normal. People will come out with a new type of issues, and how are we going to face it? And what we also implemented is an HR helpline. People, we don't know which corner of the people are facing what type of a problem. There is an helpline that has been done, and leadership connect was continuously happening to ensure we are very, very positive in that approach. And we do have an activity tracker tools that ensure the productivity is also getting measured. There are many a time health related programs are happening. One of our own associates came up with an yoga program. Some of them are high intensity training program and things like that, to ensure people health and fitness has been maintained very well. And counseling helplines have been done. Revising the employee assistance program on the health plans. as Rajini was indicating, like, we started writing more number of policies meeting the new normal, how people are going to be facilitated, and how it is going to be supported. And the leadership call on a periodic basis is happening, where we are going and what is the new normal that is happening. These are all the things that has happened when we are there in the office. It's informally known. That's formally you have to make sure that that connect is happening very well. So
Good. Very
both
good.
of these initiatives has really helped us, and that does really help because we embrace the technology in all corners of life. Can we move on to the next one, please? So the survey insights also, like, how the industries of various sectors are encouraging the remote survey work. And this is a basic input. I thought I will share it here. And in this, IT is predominantly into the embrace into IT team work from home, and still we continue to do that till the pandemic or the vaccines have been identified. So we ensure that has been done. And one good thing is our productivity is not lost, and there are gamification that we have done across the business, and we have improved the productivity by 30%, which got measured. Outcome has come, measured outcome in the sense, uh, the the gamification is more in terms of the scores and marks that it is coming in, like, how much of the customer escalation has been stopped, and how much of customer appreciation has come. And I mean, those are all the measurable tools that we are able to bring in. And
Right.
in terms of overall productivity, the input has been given by quality and finance team, which clearly indicates that there is a 30% increase in productivity that has come in during this pandemic time. And HR is a key player in terms of bringing in these interventions, and it's a measurable interventions, and people have businesses really liked it and embraced it also. Can you move on? Um, Okay. So the focus is on fundamentals on what we talked about associate engagement, and best practices are learned from peers, and ensure organization is future ready. So, so the role play of each of those CXOs and HRs and managers have been well defined, and we ensure the appreciation of the people has been constantly being thrived upon. So we keep connecting with people, and timely recognition has been given to them. So how well the technology has embraced us is, if I want to talk about it, um, I suggest, can you move on to the next slide? So right from recruitment to background check to background check and all, for us it's an AI based application. There are recruitment is lot of new technologies come in, we embrace that. And productivity, as I was saying, we measured it through a gamification process. And learning and development has played an immensely fantastic role in terms of people becoming future ready. So there is a cross training platform, and where we are able to, we have encouraged people to ensure they learn the new technology. That has really helped us in terms of sustenance method, in terms of bringing in a new technology and bringing in white papers around that. And our go to market strategy also improved on that side. And apart from that, we talk about performance management system, where it's all virtual done at any point of time. People can go ahead and review on it. Similarly, wellness program is quite intensively planned on that. So what we talk about associate experiences mirror the customer experiences. So that's what we talk about. Inspired associate will, with a cause, will makes the connection. Okay, reward and recognition, put it through a gamification. We have done it. So an inspired associate able to bring in 225% of productivity. So that is how we try to bring in the virtual connect, more connected experience for associates. It's not only want of the associate and associate family, so we are able to embrace the family together on many of those calls, and bring in a gay connect with the family members too. Some of those initiatives are done from HR. So we do have our own product called Drop Thought. So the pulse of the associate is being studied every now and then. So you bring in Moodometer and other thing. We are able to bring in the pulse of the people. So what do you mean by, how do we find the net promoter score of the organization, where your associates are engaged, satisfied, or inspired? We find that our net promoter score is more on engaged or inspired mode. So that really gives a lot of
Correct.
positive sign in terms of our people business. So what is our role in terms of being strategic? We ensure that we optimize the utilization and where the productivities are getting really measured. We ensure the billability is getting increased, and we ensure the rotate to grow where the associates have been given opportunity to grow. Like this, many such initiative. Because cost of time, I just want to stop it with this. So where we are able to bring in the billability realization and other thing, and HR played a very strategic role in that area. So,
Wonderful, wonderful, Bala. Yeah,
yeah.
good
So
to hear.
what is the portion of these phases are here to stay in the new norm? Associate is given mandatory working from home option during this time. And going forward, in fact, we are on a real estate side, we saved a lot. We have to give away our own offices, even though it's our own building, we have rented it out. We have ensured that we are also in a product division. There are team that need to come into the system and work. So we ensure that lab has been set up in such a way that they are safely protected, and which are all the core function which can come to office for strategic discussion. Rest of the time they can truly work from home and give the necessary support. Nothing like being in office connecting. It's a culture building exercise will happen
Absolutely,
there.
absolutely.
It's a new normal way. How are you going to build a culture? I mean, that's a new challenge that has come to HR. So we are working on it on many of those. Thanks to the technology embracement and the AI and other thing come up. I don't know if COVID AI has come, AI COVID has come, and this is going to really help us in going forward in terms of bringing this process very effectively using the tool, and we are able to bring in a change that is needed for the business. Okay. And we do develop a lot of in-house tool, like drop thought, Moodometer and other thing, where we are able to get the feel of the people every now and then, and we are able to understand, address the issue within an SLA timeline, specified timeline. Okay. There will be I normally see associates, I mean organization issue on people dimension on fivefold: career development, competency development, and the work relationship, work environment, and communication. So what do you mean by that? So basically, people developmental area where we definitely need to address it. The area that is going to be taken care by your chief mentor program and coaching program and the learning and development program is going to take care of career and competency development, proper discussion with the associates. And more of a work relationship is going to be more of a new normal. How we are going to meet it through virtually and bring in a lot of limelight in that area is what we are trying to look at it. Communication, obviously, we have to do extensive communication during this period, because you should not allow people to get disoriented from the organization mood or a culture or the goals that we are trying to look forward to. And this is one thing we normally look at it. Okay. So the collaboration tool and other things are in place. Coming to that, HR needs to change to ensure great work environment. The next normal is incorporate policy changes for the next normal, which is being worked upon. Ensure undisrupted workflow. So this is again applied by tools. IT it become easier to stronger tools that we are able to lay down in terms of measuring productivity to outcome-based measure. It's able to possible. Utilize the power of virtual learning. Now, learnings are made in capsules, in micro capsules. So your
Right.
learning are going to be in few minutes, 5 minutes learning. Micro learnings are being imparted on the people. So the learnings are being captured. Their capability of that is getting assessed. Focus on health and well-being of the associate. There are programs on various type of programs, right? From there is health related groups have been there. They talk about right from yoga to high intensive training program. It's all happening virtually. So there are people from a member from US is taking over training program, and for all our associates as early as the morning at 7 o'clock. So right from CDO to everybody, we'll get into the program and we do our workouts. I mean, that charges the whole day. And sometimes we do have cooking classes coming up and so on and so forth. So develop a new talent acquisition workforce management practice has been done. Use an analytics and track a workforce on engagement related idea. And you need to keep employee motivated, like, reward and recognition and timely recognition. So spot awards, everything is happening virtually. And emphasize on a lot of financial wellness has been worked out. So we automated many of those tasks. What I normally tell my team is like, ensure everybody have to get into Six Sigma and Lean Sigma process. And obviously you have to complete one project before the 6 months period, so that what is the process improvement that we are bringing in, so that you become a very lean organization able to bring in an effective results. So these are all the things I just want to, sorry I've taken more than a time allowed, but I thought I'll give my few cents to.
Wonderful. Thanks. Thank you, Bala. Thank you so much. Okay, my dear panel members, what we will do now is, or rather, what we have been hearing all the four of you saying are as follows, in the sense that I think almost all of us are saying, we are talking about, let's say, I'm just listing it out, like we are talking about continuous connect with our employees. I think this is something we might have been doing earlier, but I think this is a very welcome and almost a necessary thing thanks to COVID that we have had to do, which is paying its own dividends and things like that. Natwar mentioned about it, Rajni mentioned about it, I think all of us mentioned about it, right? Second is the emphasis on productivity, quality, process improvement, process engineering, technology embracing and things like that. I think all of you by turn mentioned about it, in the sense in some way or the other we are all on a path where we are improving the quality. We have seen productivity levels going up, we are seeing quality levels going up, we are seeing processes being kind of streamlined or rationalized or whatever you want to call it. And of course, without an exception, we have all embraced technology like our second skin. I mean, it is here to stay, whether it is in the most mundane of activities or not. Technology is here to stay, is what we have, thanks to COVID, we have done that. Then I hear Natwar also talking about it. For example, he is talking about employees' requirement to address their emotional needs. I mean, there is always the rationality which prevails, but I think today the emotional well-being is on top. I mean, we have had to give a lot of emphasis on counseling, individual talks, individual connect, addressing individual specific issues, family related issues. So I think, like the Japanese HR practice, I think we are now really crossing the limits of the organization and moving into families, right? So HR is actually connecting with the employee at the family level. I think that's what has really happened. And then of course the biggest beneficiary in HR from all this is, I think, the learning and development. I remember Bala of Ashok Leyland mentioning in some interview, as soon as the COVID broke out, saying that in Ashok Leyland they have introduced what is called as a 30 ml learning. So we were all curious, what is this 30 ml? I mean, is it what 30 ml of milk or what? So it's 30-minute learning. And that's exactly what this Bala is also saying, that we need to take bite-sized learning modules, and which is making a lot of sense, because today's millennials also do not have that kind of attention span and things like that. So learning and development has really, thanks to online educational revolution that we are seeing, I think it is certainly bound to give us benefits in the organizational online learning and development initiatives as well. Then we are talking about, we are always talking about employee first. We have always been giving importance to the employees. So like the book which Mr. Vineet Nayyar wrote about HCL Technologies, we have really now come to believe that we need to take care of our employees first, and automatically that will translate into customer experience or customer happiness and things like that. The other thing about which now I want to provoke your thought as the last round of discussion amongst us is in terms of culture. I mean, we are talking about being very harsh on bad performance because we are now very keen on productivity and things like that. We want to take a call. We want to call a spade a spade. We want to be what do you call it? Assertive enough to say that yes, this performance will not hold good, and so there have to be some harsh decisions on not only individuals but on several other processes which are not yielding the required productivity levels and efficiency levels and so on and so forth. We have also got to talk about culture in terms of the manner in which we are all now working together, the work level, the work nature of work itself has changed to a great extent. Maybe not so much in Hyundai or in Rajini's infrastructure company and things like that, but generally I'm saying, okay. And of course, managing remote teams, what kind of leadership skills that we need to really inculcate in our managers, because managing a remote team is not the same as managing a physical team, right? And of course, the one other lesson which we have got from COVID, of course, is the management of crisis. I think we have really, like my friend from Amar Raja Batteries, Jai Krishna, used to say that we are all become like, we have become warriors, right? We have also been saviors. HR people have also been saviors, but they have also become warriors. So not only HR, I think employees have also learned to respond to a crisis, and so I think our threshold levels to handle challenges must have surely increased or must have surely gone up, because now we have seen the worst, so there cannot be anything worse than this, right? So let me hear one more round of your response in terms of what you think about some of these new emerging areas, like ability to manage remote teams, ability to manage crisis, ability to manage performance of a different kind, not the typical performance management that we have been used to so far. So what has been some of your responses? I'll be very random in my picking. I'll go straight to Bala to start with. If you can be also very brief, I think this will be the last round of discussion.
No issues. Thanks. One, in terms of managing the performance in the remote area, while we really talk about extremely good performer on the productivity side or whatever it is, it's going to be an easy task. Okay, normally we do tend to have some of these issues randomly coming up in terms of people are not meeting up to the expectation. The way we deal with that is we have an PIP program, performance improvement plan. So we give them a 3-month timeline. All the assistance have been given to them why they are able to fail, and
enabling.
Every individual is going to be a failure. Wantedly make it a failure. There are areas assistance required. Maybe 3 months is an observation period. We look at it, and whatever the support requirement is being given. Beyond that, if there is going to be a cause of deficiency in improvement, then it's a natural course of action will trigger. Otherwise, we maximum to our support, we ensure every associate is successful in their organization and in their role.
Okay, I have a specific question on the same subject but slightly differently worded for Natwar, because having known Natwar a little bit and of course Hyundai and all that, Natwar, the specific question to you is, like, so far we have been talking about employees, we have been talking about managers and things like that. We have not spoken about unions, right? So as a person dealing directly head on with the unions and things like that, what has been your experience in terms of how they are looking at it? Which are the areas where they are obviously in a very cooperative kind of a stance with us, and what has been some of those challenges, if you can narrate? I mean, because that will be again very new to us.
Very relevant topic.
Yeah. Your topic.
When I talk about union, I think the first thing comes to most of our mind is the kind of resistance that they would have. I'm sure I would not blame union or the representative of the union. I think most of us also had the resistance to go to work when things were not at that moment, when this conscious of fear has probably even driven us. So a union representative would always look at more of a holistic view, because they have to take a decision on for the larger number of employees.
Right.
So yes, indeed, we did have a lot of resistance, and I think that's pretty natural. But what is more important here is, again, what we had went through is we kept on communicating them, and the one or the most important key is we made them understand that we are there for them. I mean, at any given point of time, we are there for you. So that element is very important. Sometimes it is not about, okay, just giving you an example. I'm sure all of us would have taken, we would have been, the moment we started up our organization. So the first case when it came up, so there was absolutely the jittery among all of us. And the union was on the toe that, no, we told you that things will not work out. But it's like that, the moment you go in the flow of it, the slow and slow, you get into the conditions of it. So we kept on, driving them slow, making them understand, think we would be able to manage it. And then so we have done it. But one thing is very clear. Union will, the impression with union at first go will get that business is important or the people. Now, you can't go and tell to them business is important. And you can't go and tell the up that people are only important. I think it's very important that you will have to balance it, both the side. And it becomes very critical for us because we actually become a boxing bag. So everybody hits us from both the sides of it. So, I just, the moment when you said that the role of HR has been changed, I remember somewhere somebody saying that, it's always in a backtrack. I just wanted to redefine it. We are actually a backbone of the organization. And probably when the time it comes to rise, your backbone is very important. And that's what the kind of role which we all have played it. So there has been a greater resistance to union, and even today. But I think over the period of time, if you continually educate them, make them aware, keep communicating them, and most important thing, if you're just listening out to them, you may be not reacting to it, just listening out to them, I think your 70% of your problem is solved. Yes, 30% of the problems need to be dealt with. You need to come out with exceptions, nothing driven by policies. You can talk about on the table good about policy, rules, principle, norms. Everything goes on a flat when the table they put across a situation when you not be able to answer it. So I think there has to be greater amount of flexibility in you to adapt it. What Rajni ma'am was also talking about, what she makes in the morning, the evening it dies. It's like something like a newspaper it was. So what you read today is tomorrow's a waste paper. The similar way your principal stands were also not working out. So it goes when you're dealing with people, I think you cannot be rigid. You need to be highly flexible, and you need to keep modulating. As I said in the earlier conversation as well, just having plan B would not be enough. You need to have a multiple plans to sustain yourself. I think I probably have conveyed what that is.
Good one. Thank you, Natwar. I mean, that is also a good dimension for this discussion. Rajini, what are your comments on performance management and the shift, the kind of shifts that we need to look at culture and things like that?
So so we did something very interesting. We
Okay.
kind of worked around the performance cycle itself.
Okay.
So we are now into a 20-month performance cycle. 20 months. I mean, I'm being very optimistic, but
Okay.
so when we started this COVID lockdown, it was almost a year, and we were about to start the performance appraisals, and then everything came to a grinding halt. But we kept this very close to our heart in terms of we need to do this at some point. So yesterday, I've actually rolled out the forms to people for self-evaluation. So we are going to do a 20-month appraisal. So the advantage, I mean, I'm not going to talk about disadvantage. All of us know about it. But the advantage here is people who joined, in the month of January will also get appraised. Okay, they don't have to wait for another 1 year. That is one. And we are able to cover a lot more employees in the cycle. And second is the latest memory is always on top of the mind. So all those guys who did well during this COVID, this 8-month or 9-month, the productivity or from handling huge projects such as a warehouse or a stadium kind of a thing, all of these guys are going to be benefited. And we are very good paymasters in this industry. Our industry is a very niche industry, but we are definitely good paymasters. So definitely this is going to impact them positively is what I would say. And third one is we have also worked around the way we have put our KRAs. Earlier it used to be too much of metrics into the KRA. Too much of metrics. how many beams you have done, how many columns you have constructed, how many whatever. But today it is more on a competency based KRA, whereas what kind of thinking existed, your thoughts, your thinking patterns, your problem solving ability, your decision making ability, your critical thinking
Right.
ability, all of that gets analyzed in this KRA. So what my CEO, Mr. Ravi, he is my CEO, an extremely very very business oriented guy with a big spiritual thinking in place. 30 years he's been in spiritual work, but he combines these two things. That is where his smartness comes. So he sat with me, and we, along with a few operational leaders, we have rejigged this entire KRA. We've made about 30 different KRAs to fit the various bands of employees. So it is not number based; it is more competency based. It's more, precision based. So that is what it is. And we are also having two reviewers, because I told you the team base was also changing. So we have two reviewers who will take care of the first half, and the second half we had another reviewer. So we brought in all of these things to fit this 20-month performance cycle.
I
And
see.
I'm sure I can write a good case. I'm being very optimistic. I mean, I have a big work. I'm going to have a Zoom meeting on Monday to address all my employees. Some of them will be with me face to face in office, but some of them are in Trichy for us. So I'm going to be clearing out about the appraisal form itself, because today, tomorrow, they're going to be looking at the form and getting a feel and of the form, how it looks and
Okay.
what is supposed to do. Monday, I'm going to teach them how to, I'm going to do a small Zoom session. So that way, performance management has worked uh, very well for us, both from a business perspective, from an employer perspective, as well as from an employee perspective. And also, we gave away a portion of our increments. We just did this notional performance management on each of the employees based on their last 8 months, and we gave a portion of our increments just before the Diwali day
I see.
as a Diwali gift. And that increment will definitely be subtracted when we give them the whole increment. But nevertheless, they get a good amount. Even the lowest employee gets about 15-20,000 in hand, and just before Diwali, that amount is a big amount. So
Yeah.
these kind of employee-oriented practices we have introduced, and I'm personally very proud of these things, because I was able to work with the CEO himself directly on these things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rajni. Thank you. So, Suma, can we hear you on some of these newer topics like performance? How have you handled performance issues, and has there been any shift, etc.?
So for
Suma?
us,
Yeah.
this year has been actually remarkable. We have
Okay.
been month on month basis, the sales have been going up and things have
Wonderful.
been, but interestingly, we had to look at Cargill as a whole, right? So there have been certain delays in the way, we do the payouts, and that has not gone very well with the people, right? So the best part out of that was, the performance pay. So all of them received that, and that has actually kept up the, motivation level of employees. I would like to touch upon the recognition part, right? For us, especially for the sales teams, we had these forums wherein the top performers would be taken, outside the country, and there would be a specific, gala event. We could not do that in this period, and that's where we had to go virtual, and this was completely new, right? Sales teams, the salespeople, somebody sitting, and working somewhere remote in, say, Bhatinda up north or down south in, Rajamundry, people are not that fluent in English, right? So when you are sitting with a leadership team, on a virtual event, you are being called out, you are being recognized. We don't know, how are they taking it? Are they still fine? So we encourage people to be, comfortable, speaking and sharing their views in their native tongue, and their managers, you know, trying to, put up a concise summary for everybody's view on chat. So that was one, a completely unique for us. It's not, normal. And recognition and appreciation, that has been the norm of the day. The standard recognition, which was part and parcel of a yearly recognition event. But what happened was the operations team, right? So I would just like to touch upon the union team, the union people who really stood with us throughout this
Okay.
period. We had to recognize recognize them along with our the operators. So
Okay.
we came up with the recognition framework, and interestingly, the hierarchy of approval is a lot different. So we have to also ensure that there are no future issues. We didn't know how long this COVID situation would continue, and in case in future there is another issue which pops up, are we setting up the right benchmark for the union specifically, because we don't want them to come back to us with another demand the next year because we did something during COVID time. So we had to come up with the right recognition framework, keep on motivating them, and that has helped. Till today, even the last month November sales data, that has been a record sale. So all going good. So I think that's it in terms of performance.
Thank you, Suma. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we are all saying that health, safety, and wellness, as a, let's say, as a body of knowledge within the HR overall body of knowledge, I think is here to stay. I think this will become. I mean, in my humble view, I feel that like we had social work as a distinct, subset of HR. I think this also will become eventually a field of specialization in companies. You might have to employ professionally qualified health, safety, and wellness professionals. Perhaps this is the thought I'm getting, because after hearing all of you and after hearing several other kind of developments, not only in India but the world over, it looks like these are all new specializations coming in. I think today, in today's situation, I think counseling, social work, outreach into the families, all of that is becoming these are, I think, fairly newer fields in HR, though to some of the elder HR professionals like me, where we might have had even a course in social work and things like that as part of HR curriculum. But I think these are some new domains which are, I think, here to stay. So any other comments? I mean, we still have, I think, another 5 minutes or so. Mr. Manigantan, I'm sure he will tell us that we have about 5 minutes or so. Then we'll perhaps take questions from the participants if there are,
Yes.
and we can wind up. So any, let's say, overall comments or observations or predictions or crystal ball gazing or whatever it is that you might like to indulge in as far as COVID and HR are concerned. I think both are intertwined, right? Any specific comment from any one of your panelists?
Yeah, to tell about this new dimension, and I think it has given a new way for us to evolve, right? As an organization, the type of challenges that is in front of us to meet the new business demands that is coming up. Thanks to some of this after COVID era, well, still the COVID is happening, but I find that after the COVID period, we find the inflow of business is also increasing in terms of technology segment. So in terms of that is required there, and how we are geared up in terms of meeting those demands are going very high. So I find there is a good amount of growth that's there, and we need to gear up to address those needs. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And we have to embrace the new normal of associate working from home. I mean, you have to have a new systems and process to monitor, more than a monitor, to support them to be successful in that arena, in the new normal way. So there are needs coming up which are new. Sometime in pockets it will come up. So over a period of time it will become an overall demand. So how consciously you keep your open your eyes and ears open, and watch for the changing needs is more important. And you have to respond to the situation more than a reacting. You have to respond to the situation in a timely manner and take a very constructive decision with support, both from the organization. I always say, it need to be trade-off. It cannot be an organization take benefit out of association not take benefit out of organization. So you need to strike a balance between these two and ensure that we are able to tie down the bridge properly. And we can sail through, and this is a new normal way. We have to look at how we are going to drive this
Correct.
enabling
Absolutely.
support,
For
or
me,
getting into a strategic role of supporting the business, because many of those areas, the business leaders are unable to take decision. When they are close by, they are able to take a call. On a remote, many of those connectivity, one, they depend on technology, and the second, they depend on human resource
Human people. Yeah.
function. So we are able to sustain and understand the need of the people and bring out the right intervention will help.
Thanks for that, Tavala. I think Rajni wants to say
yeah.
something.
So so what I realized was for me personally as a HR professional, my physical, I mean, I was generally very agile. As a person, I'm quite agile, but this gave me a huge test into my own physical and mental agility.
Agility.
How agile I am, and this agility can never be cannot stop even at a single point, because people are looking up to you to take that feedback, and that feeds into your people's agility. So they get influenced a lot by how you portray yourself, and how agile you are, how nimble you are, your adaptability, and how supportive you are to your employees. And this is a true test for HR. While we have to balance our business parameters, we have this huge people parameter where they have only 100 different problems. Okay, if I have 300 employees, I have 600 problems, and I am I am supposed to be a solution provider for all the 600 problems.
So
Okay, and that is one. And the third one I want to complete this was saying that the better you are flexible, you will be a better learner, and you will be a better HR professional. So agility is the only thing which is here to stay, is what I think.
Oh, nice. Very, very nice. In
That is
fact, that
my
actually prompts me to ask Natwar and Suma. I mean, let me put it in the form of a question so that it's a little more specific. What are the two things that you have learned for yourself from this COVID, Natwar?
Okay. One thing I've seen it since I joined, and I've seen the uncertainty which came in 2008, which was the first recession, followed by the setback what we had in 2020. I think the biggest notion is that such setbacks comes with a lot of problems, but I think such setbacks has come with a lot of opportunities. I
Absolutely.
think if you are able to embrace things, I think you will see a new of yourself every time it comes to personal life as well. I think these are the something major takeaway which I would share. The more the
Wonderful.
problem is, the better and the tougher you grow in your life. Just to add to what Rajani ma'am was talking about, and neither the Bala sir as well. I just wanted to tell you that though is out of the question, but I just want to tell you that I think every once in a decade, I think there has been a paradigm changes is how human resources have been gone through, and not just pandemic. I think going forward, you will see a lot of changes which would come into place. But to be specific, I think this remote work options will see something very new perspective in C2 go to miles as well. And yes, the communication and technology will take a lead driving steps in most of us. But I also see there is a greater amount of flexible compensation modules which may come. The kind of way the compensation is being managed for an individual will actually become more customized with having seeing the labor code which is coming. I think you'll see completely new perspective coming into it. So
Correct.
I guess policies, technology will keep changing.
True.
I think that's what my say on it.
Sure. Okay. So we'll have a last word from Suma, and then I'll just wind it up and hand it over to Mr. Manigandan and Soma Sajivan. Yeah. Suma, two things that you have learned during this
Yes.
period, during this time as an HR professional.
Sure. See, one thing which personally my observation is I had two different persona, one at work and one in with family,
Okay.
and that all merged together because I was sitting in a completely different environment, and I had to manage my emotions, manage my anger, and it's so easy to actually lean in on the family and just let it go, let the people take over a lot of responsibilities which you believed was yours. So that was the biggest learning for me, which I as a leader have also shared with my other fellow employees, especially the women employees who
Yeah.
feel that they are master of all at home. You can't delegate those basic tasks. So that is one major learning for me. I think we are 8 minutes to closure, so let's open it
Yeah,
up.
sure. So there will be some question and answers. So I think just to end, I think overall it's a very positive outlook. In fact, even at the macro level, I think as a country we are certainly looking up. It looks like it seems the coming 2-3 years are years for India. So from that positive outlook, I think we need to all function. So I wish to thank each one of you. We'll now take up the questions as and when they are posed to us. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you, sir. I can't thank you all enough. In fact, a little more things to be done now. Interesting perspectives, and I think this is the advantage of having a panel discussion rather than having a monologue training programs or having a dialogue sessions. In fact, when we started, I always say that we used to have a conversation presentation formats. I think above all, panel discussions are a way to have a lot of perspectives, and particularly I think even Dr. Rajni has worked in the diversity and inclusion space a lot. I feel this panel is very diverse because of the interesting perspectives that has come by. In fact, Natur was mentioning about communicate, and he was also talking about alignment of technology with people. So that's something very interesting. And Suma closed it by saying work-life integration. So which is both a challenge and an advantage for many of the people. I will conclude. I mean, I will have it stop. I mean, I will stop it here. I will keep it brief. While I want all the participants to ask you questions if you have any, and at the end we have some interesting announcement. When we have, we wanted to identify two good, most engaged participant and reward. So have some interesting questions, and I will leave the job to Dr. Rajni and Natwar to choose the best participant. We'll have two participants at the end. Maybe you can have a relevant question as one indicator for selection, and maybe I'll leave it to you to decide, Natwar and Dr. Rajni. Now the floor is open for Q&A. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. If any of you wish to come on screen, please, you can come on screen. It is open now. I leave it to you all. Please raise your hands. Let me unmute. So if you have a question, please raise your hands. I'll unmute you.
There is a question on the chat. This is from Amudini Manikandan.
Okay.
In larger organization, it is difficult to meet HR and share our thoughts. Even though if we mail them, they are hesitating to talk with us. Instead, they are sharing the info for what we ask in a single line and saying, hope you are clear. Any thought on this, and how could we proceed further? Whom should I contact further?
Yeah. So, Suma, why don't you respond to that? That's a good initiative you took of at least, identifying a question and yeah.
See, as HR professionals, we have the tough game to play, right? So we have to balance. So Amadini, I can understand from an employee perspective, it's really tough to hear that one-liner response from an HR. But sometimes, that one-liner is an attempt to try and find out further details to, the queries or questions which an employee has. And as an HR representative, nobody can say that I don't have the answer, and that's an approach which they go with, and they come back to an employee for sure. That's the way I take it, and I would look for other seniors in the panel to share their views.
Yeah, one way, if I want to look at it, the type of questions what they might have asked.
Yeah.
Near time, HR may not be the stakeholder, or maybe the stakeholder may not be the stakeholder to respond to it, because the stakeholder might be different. In type of our organization, we do have a tool-based resolution. So you can transfer the response to the right stakeholder to respond to it. Okay. If it is not there, you have an escalation matrix normally published by the team. So you have to go to the next level to find out the right type of responses getting it. So you have to ask for the escalation matrix and take it up. And that's another way you can look at it.
Correct. Good one.
So participants, any other questions?
Yeah, there is a question. Reward and recognition are critical.
Okay.
From
Agreed.
Solomon Ashok, I think.
Yeah. I'll read it for you. Reward and recognition are critical. Agreed. Role of non-financial rewards versus financial in terms of how people rank these two types of rewards, especially in challenging times. Sorry.
Yeah.
So they're talking about the non-financial rewards, non-monetary.
How the non-financial and the financial rewards.
So I can talk about it,
Yeah.
Jagdish sir. So from a reward perspective, definitely nothing motivates like money. Having said that, I have a different perspective on that also, because in the last 8 months, we have given away at least about, if my memory is right, 200 plus online rewards for our people, for living up to other DNAs of the organization, which is our culture. It's called the deeply nurtured attributes. So SK has something called deeply nurtured attributes. Like any other organization, we have accountability, customer centricity, communication, problem solving, and think innovation. These are the 5 elements of that. So anybody who is able to apply these principles in their daily operational roles will be recommended for a reward, which will be like a mug. Earlier, because of the work from home situation, we gave away a lot of certificates, designed nicely. Canva is available. Anyone can design today nice, beautiful certificates. So we gave it away, and when we all got back to work, we published that as a wall of fame in our foundation day. So people were like totally, and we had the best work from home. We brought in all kinds of things to keep people, motivated. And of course, I told you that, we gave that increment portion like a small reward only. So, so you need to play it carefully as to how you are positioning the non-financial reward.
Right.
And at times you need to also give them financial reward. So every person who, when I get a best work from home employee award, I'm also given 1,000 rupees from the management. So, it is always blended. It cannot, otherwise you cannot work on this. You need to blend it well. So the efficacy of the reward is also felt by people.
Good one.
Okay.
Thanks.
I
Good.
just thought
To
I'll
add
add
to
a
the
few
point, I would like to state either the financial reward or a non-financial reward. Timely reward is important. Okay.
Right.
You have to recognize him on time at that time when the person is completed. If my son gets 100 out of 100, I go and pat on his back. It's type of incidences what you are going to give a pat on the back immediately, that recognize that makes them feel proud to be. That is where you establish a connect with the organization or with the managers. One. And there are rewards, or financial rewards, talks about if a person is really adding up a value to the organization in terms of innovation, bringing in a value creation coming up, comes with a financial reward. So there is a discrimination between non-financial and financial reward, which is thought through. So I would have done a good work and nobody recognized me, and it doesn't say you are not getting motivated. So it's a quick pep up is what we are trying to talk about. Non-financial rewards, financial reward, you are really adding up value, and organization is also gaining benefit, and you are individually reciprocating the your good work is another way of reward. So it needs that. In my essence, I want to see it as timely reward, whether financial or non-financial, is essential. You have to build a culture of recognizing the people. That's what I look at it as.
Very true. Very true.
So,
Actually, as Bala said, just a point only, as Bala was saying, one is I would rather, blend all of your points and say that, see, non-financial rewards are more important in the sense, provided it's part of your culture, like Bala was saying. And and since Rajini is a doctorate in psychology, I can't say anything except to say that this is called as a hot stove principle in psychology, right? So you need to recognize whether it's reward or punishment, it has to be on time. And that's a part of a culture again. So it's actually, finally, it boils down to culture. Financial rewards can be a matter of policy. Okay, I get 10% of the savings that I bring in, or whatever it is. But I think non-financial culture reward is more of a culture, because it starts from, as Bala said, it starts from a pat on the back. I do something well today, there's no point rewarding me at the end of a performance cycle after 1 year, because I would have myself forgotten about it. So is the boss, it as a leadership style which imbibes that culture? Are we in an organization where your boss will call you and say, hey GD, fantastic job done? That's good enough for me. Yes, after some time I may also kind of look for some financial rewards as well, but it starts as a cultural aspect actually. So I think both of you are really hit the nail on this question as well.
GD, sir, another question.
Sir.
Sorry, Natwa, go ahead.
Sorry, though there's been a lot of views on that, but I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
I think we as an HR professionals should stop, posing our perceptions to people. I think the time has come to make this reward policy completely customized, because one umbrella doesn't fit to all. That approach has to be come out of it. I think let the people design what they want. They want non-financial benefits. I think you can look for something which people would be happy getting work from home all across their the compensation would be matter to that. Somebody want vitamin M, so you got to be like that. I think things have changed to one-on-one rather than we have a general perceptions of what will fit for each of them. So I just thought the customization will take place in times to come.
Correct. Good one.
Okay. Here is another question to the panelist from Raj Durai. So he has asked about the negative impact on the psychology. I mean, psychologically, what is the bearing when you work from home 24/7? He has also mentioned that he started feeling like in a home arrest. So is it going to stay here in the long run? How is it going to impact us? That's the question. Over to you all.
Good question, because I think there are a lot of cases of depression and
True.
feeling low and things like that. So maybe Rajini or somebody, psychology specialist, should answer that. Suma can.
I would just like to just add, the L&D which people specified, each of us, I think we touched upon it. I think managing the emotional and the psychological well-being, that is most crucial, right? That is linked to your question, right? So we have been providing this bite-sized learning, that also was touched, especially to managers, how should they approach their employees, how should they encourage in terms of work from home, as well as balance with their the personal, so they can actually encourage them to have a break, encourage them to go on leave. So there are these kind of inputs which has to be provided by the organization, because as a manager or as an individual, we would be more focused on our task, and that task could go on the whole day. And that's where there has to be that balance, which has to be encouraged by the company, and also promoted to the managers. So that's how we have been doing it.
Okay.
Any other perspectives?
Others would like to respond? Anybody else?
I think I will take a bit of it. I just wanted to say to Rajdurai, yes. I mean, in fact, even when I was working from home, even I extended beyond 16 hours. So I think at this point, things are not certain. Things, as we move gradually, I think you will have organization having policies on work from home. We have already been talking about sexual harassment at the work from home as well. So I'm sure the changing labor codes will also understand, government clearly understand that the government which is impressing about having the work from home. So there'll be a lot of policy coming at, and the similar what is applicable when you are at work would apply to a work from home as well. As so I'm thinking as we move forward, as we get matured in the process, things will change.
Okay. Can I go with the other question, the next question?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I know HR position is a very critical and challenging role that you all play. What do you all do to sustain the position? So it's not even challenging role. It's the question itself is very challenging.
If you're able to deliver value, you can sustain in the position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keeping it short and simple.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
See, from my perspective, if we don't, present ourselves in a renewed way at least once in 6 months.
Okay.
We need to present some new ideas. Definitely. When I was in TVS, there was a joke. When some people were called for a meeting, they would call it Amma meeting. It's like Arachamave meendum areppadu, Amma meeting.
Okay.
So we should not do Amma stuff. We should do some kind of a renewed energy. And that kind of energy, if you're able to bring certain world-class practices, and you be instrumental in getting those world-class practices. As I was part of the CII Young Managers Forum competition a few minutes earlier. I just wound that up and came here. I just told them always aim for the stars, and as HR, if you're not able to do that, it's very difficult for us to motivate the rest of the people, because for them it is very drab. Every day they do the same old stuff. We have the opportunity to try a lot of new things. Technically, they don't have much to do, but we have a lot more things to do. I think a renewed perspective and getting your quality up, comparing yourself with your own performance, and keeping that energy upbeat. That's what I do, and to keep myself going in the industry.
So
very good.
So we are done. One final question, and with that, we will conclude and hand it over to Mr. Soma Sajeevan to do the honor and vote of thanks. If two people were nominated for a promotion in the same role from project manager, on what basis is it given to only one resource?
Oh my God, this is a classic.
In a simple word,
these are realities.
That is required for the position, it need to be assessed, right? And what is that it demands for that position? It is more than what is required, what is available. As an organization, what is the position need in the business is what we have to look at it, against which who's the competent person who's going to fit in is what it's going to be looked at it. It's not going to be just for a person available, it's for the position that is available, whose team suited is what you're going to look at it.
Okay, thanks Bala. With your intelligence, shall I give you a personal story? If you don't mind, maybe one more minute.
Yeah.
And I always narrate this whenever this kind of a question is asked. My father, incidentally, a personal story. My father was the principal of the Naval College of Engineering in Lonavala, which is between Bombay and Pune. Yeah, and it's a naval academy where they train the young officers and put them into the sea. So he was the principal of the Naval College, and I was a kid. There is a huge difference between my father's age and mine. So sometimes these discussions would happen on the dining table. My father would be discussing it with my mother, but we kids, we never used to kind of get into those things, unlike what happens today, because we all discuss on a dining table the whole company's affairs. We discuss the family affairs on a dining table today, but we were not privy to that. But I distinctly remember this conversation that my father and my mother would have, and that was this. My father had 1 year to retire. He was a mechanical engineer, a gold medalist from Guindy Engineering, and a freedom fighter and all kinds of things. He had 1 year to retire. Now he had to recommend to the defense ministry who is going to be the next principal from among the professors that he had under him. And so one was a mechanical engineer and one was an electrical engineer, who were both academically and in every respect brilliant. They were wonderful professors and all of that. So my father asked one question, and I think that is an answer or a question that we all HR guys always we have faced this. At least I have faced this all my time as well. Should I promote a good professor and earn a bad principal? Should I promote a good professor and earn or bring a bad principal to the college? Is the question that he had, which means what he meant at the time was, I remember these two professors working under him because their children were my classmates and things like that. One was a mechanical engineering professor, but a brilliant administrator, a brilliant people manager, a brilliant relationship person, a good kind of a deputy to my dad, because then you have to maintain relations with the defense ministry in Delhi and all of that. So a little bit of liaison and overall administration and man management and all of that. The second was an electrical engineering professor who was an academician per se, full stop. He was an electrical engineer par excellence, full stop. So obviously, of course, my father had this dilemma that now I have to, if I recommend the mechanical engineer's name as the next principal, of course I will lose a good professor. But there are good chances of my earning a good principal through him, because the second gentleman is only a professor, period.
Correct.
So I think that is the answer for this question, meaning that both are project managers, but the next position is something else. Now, it's not good that if you are just a good project manager doesn't mean that you have to be promoted, right? Do you have the competencies? Like Rajni was saying, everything is competency based today. So do you have that metal, that promise, that potential in you to handle a higher position? And what are the demands of that higher position? And where are you mapped on that? I think that is the question. I'm sure the person who is asking the question should know that.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
more than an individual. The role that demands is what we have to look at it.
Exactly.
The competency, what it demands, is what important than the role person.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'll jump in here. Thank you. It was wonderful listening to you all, and thanks for responding to all the questions. Quick observations, micro learning. That's something that I learned today from Balakumar. In fact, that's a very creative idea. I wanted to put it to use. I would like to take your help in collecting some 10 minutes video on talent management, maybe employee relations from Natwar, analytics from Bala, psychological perspectives, grand realities from Rajni, and put it in my YouTube channel, probably under the career section, to help aspiring budding HR professionals. Maybe I thought I'll share here. And I would like to pass it on to Mr. Soma Sajeevan, who was also twice recognized as the best HR head by World HRD Congress, and he was also heading HR for McDonald's and
McDonald's.
Yes, yeah. So over to Soma sir to share his feedback, and over to you, sir.
Somas?
Yeah, you have to
Can we see your face?
Yeah, you are unmuted.
We want to see you.
Okay. No, you are not. Hey, thank you very much. In fact, at
There you are.
Can you hear me? Audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Manikandan is asking me to close the meeting at 6:30, and now the time is 6:45.
Oh God.
Already 6:45. But anyway, thanks to the Change Agent Foundation, and thank you, Manikandan, for organizing and getting the right person in GD Sharma. And I know that he will do all his homework. He had enough couple of rounds of discussion, and I have all the stars here. I think most of them, the Rajini I know, and Suma also. I think I know her in some other discussion. He may not be knowing me. And this Natwar and what you call this Bala is very new to me. It means I have not interacted, but all the panelists and the way the modification, the modulation is done is fantastic. With the given time for people, you don't get that much of time. And Sharmaji also is so much wisdom, from Tata Institute rank holder, he's a gold medalist, and he has got all the wisdom, so much experience. So temptation of talking, and he's not able to complete it with 5 people crowd, but still they managed. Entire the people who are attended today, it's a value add for them. For them, it's like for people call in leadership, we call there should be connect and a content, connect, context, and communication. All the 4 things were there, and that is the practice even for this while we are going through these challenges. I am pretty happy to know that during this pandemic time, all our HR persons are doing wonderful thing, hard work. It's a long hours for them sometimes, but they are able to influence, they are able to contact, they are able to work with the CEO or the top decision maker. That is one of the best things. And they are seeing some of the good CEO, like what you call Rajini was talking about, wherein the MNCs really help when it comes to personal challenges, family challenges. They always, I am one of the person who introduced remote performance management and broad performance development dialogue, PDD we call. It's a regular dialogue, and there will be overseeing another person will be there, how dialoguing is being improved kind of thing. So system. She has brought all the leadership skill like decision making kind of thing. And then Suma, for example, she is in the most challenging situation because the transition time would have been very difficult for her in the beginning, because she is an essential service. She has to bring in the same momentum, and she's so happy today because her momentum and productivity is very high. That is the case even with Hyundai as well as in Bala case. What is happening is, I feel, because the focus and everybody is microscopically watching entire activities in the organization. There are no loose ends, there are no foul play, there are no games and politicking. So everybody is focusing, I have to get this thing out. Now we cannot employ Stephen Covey's other, begin with the end in the mind, because nobody knows the end. And with that volatility we are working. We HR people work with the senior leaders, but where we can do something, think win-win. I think that is one of the things. Or seek first to understand them, and then to be understood. All those things in HR touch point, what GD was talking about, the human touch which has come from the social work and the social sciences background, the high touch. I think that is what been practiced. Recently, I heard one very popular concept which was presented in one of the largest forum where 1,000 people were there. And it was a good relaxation for me to say that the COVID brought one good blessing. Because of COVID, we did not have the Third World War. That's what I said. Third World War would have happened. We are all prepared. Everywhere, what madness was going on. Now the whole world and universe, entire countries are focusing. How do we manage? What do we do? How do we focus? What is the engagement? The human factor and service is coming. Now, for another Cold War, more than a decade plus has to go, because till then the impact will be there. That's a good news kind of thing. And I have seen many people from all the forum talking, pandemic, corona, but when you hear, when you are hearing the fundamentally, everyone is actually tightening and making the things best for higher productivity and performance and quality. Everybody is talking about Six Sigma teaching, etc. And this person, Bala, has talked about mood or meter, and like that, everything, whatever is in the kitty or whatever is practiced in the world, I think they are trying to bring in to our country and practicing. All HR people are becoming more, connected with the operation. Then when you are connected with the operation, whatever scheme, whatever concept you are selling, it will be easy for you to sell. And that is what you have been proved kind of thing. What you call on reward, there is a story, I don't know, you guys will be, there's something called banana bonus. You heard about, I don't know. That banana bonus is, there is some shortage of time in a plant, some technical issue because of the so much of millions of losses being happening. Nobody is able to fix it. They engage all the consultant, everybody like that. So one time in the lunch interval, the long hours, the employee supervisor was working there. He was able to find out a solution for that. So he ran. He was so happy. He ran to his general manager, he's in the other building, ran there and opened the door, and without even formality, he opened the door and went and told him, "Sir, I have found out I could fix this." He could not believe his eyes. He said, "This is fixed and that problem is sorted out." He was eating his lunch box. Eat, sir, something like that. Nothing was there. On the last, his carrier box, there was a banana. So he gives it to him. And when the big reward was announced in the manager's council meeting, this person came and told, of all the rewards and recognition I have received today, I recognize, I believe, I respect that banana given by my boss. And that is even today in my mind. That's known as a banana. But it's for a later when I'm talking.
Somaji, you are here to also reward and honor.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Now we will, we have, anyway, the good news, I think it's a surprise even for the panelists. Because of the money's hard work, we have been able to get some sponsors. So we have just decided it's a beginning, it's a शुरुआत है. अभी तो इतना ज़्यादा नहीं है, फिर भी we have got 1,000 rupee the Amazon gift vouchers for all the panelists, including the top leader. And I think Natwar has to give the name. I don't have the name of the any participant deserves something. That's
yeah. So
you got any name? Anyway,
I have it. Network can give.
This is for everybody. This is for Suma. This is for Rajni Sriram. This is for Bala V, and this one Network Cuddle. And
Somaji, I'm interrupting you here. So we always know in Change Agents Foundation, we believe our guests are our ambassadors. So therefore, to honor them and also as a what do you call? They say the love. I mean the token of love. So here is the gift voucher for you to celebrate your Christmas and New Year. This is sponsored by SIMS, SRM Institute of Medical Sciences, and cash.com, an online employee.
Festival is only out of
Thank you so much.
Money. It's just like we were talking.
I will mail these vouchers. I will mail these gift cards to your respective email addresses. Thank you.
Very good.
And two of them stand a chance to win the instant award. This is what I call it, the participant recognition. Somaji or Network.
Network, just
Network, you can announce the names.
You can announce, no problem.
We narrowed down with the two names, right? This where Mani, am I right? We had announced two names.
Yes, go ahead.
If there are two, two. If there is
so
only
one is Raj Durai for asking a better relevant question and making very engaging, and the second one is Amudhini for making speakers to think beyond the scale. So this
okay.
Very good.
Congratulations, Rajadurai and Amudhini. We will mail it to you. Thank you so much, and wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
So everybody clap.
Any final thoughts? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
2021 is going to be a great year.
Yes.
Fantastic year.
Thank you all. You all made my day, and we will continue to collaborate and do something fruitful in the future as well. Thank you so much. This is the first panel discussion, and I've been totally bowled over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the very best. Stay safe. Thank you,
and good night to all.
Yeah.
Sorry, we were short by maybe 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Sorry.
No problem.
Thanks to all the participants for joining, and also the volunteers, the two of the volunteers from Hindustan College of Arts and Science. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Really nice, Bala and panelists. A very good evening.
So participants, one second. Somaji?
Yeah.
You're leaving, huh?
No, I'm just
Thank you all. Thank you, Raju, Ramya, Saravanan from Sims, Shravan, and Akansha Singh for all your presence. Thank you so much. And Rajadurai, are you there? You can unmute yourself.
Akansha is there. Indumati.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. How was the meeting? It was good.
Yeah, it was really good, sir, and I really enjoyed listening all the.
Raju, you can, yeah.
Hey, Saravanan is from Sims, sir. Really appreciate Saravanan. So,
come on the video. One second. You guys can't turn on your video?
No.
Here it is. Okay.
To be offline.
And ask to start video. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Akansha. I think I've been seeing you right from the beginning. Good. Could you introduce yourself?
I am Akanksha, and I am from basically Hindustan College of Arts and Science, and I'm doing
okay.
HR. And
Wonderful. Okay.
As a HR, I'm doing a training in HR. So
okay. So Shravan is your classmate, your friends.
Yeah,
all right. Okay. Right. Good. Thank you for joining, and good night.
Anyway, Mani, you write good with the pictures and all other thing you do, and send it to them also, all the participants.
I will do that. Yeah, sure.
So,
thank you.
Mani, thanks for this session, Mani. And
hey, Raju, thank you. Raju is my classmate, sir. Somaji, Raju is my classmate, MSSW. He's working with Royal Enfield, Chennai, Thiruvettiur.
I met him.
Oh, you met him? Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mani. It was a wonderful session, and keep doing it.
Thank you, Raju. We'll start HR sessions. We will do.
Definitely.
Keep inviting people, Raju.
I think it is going on live.